Good morning. So again, thanks, ma'am, management, everyone, and Group Captain Nitin Welde sir to accept the invitation of the school and to be here in his busy schedule. Last week आपको कुछ तो सब थे यहाँ पे. तो last week we had honorary captain शत्रुघ्न सिंह जी. उनके सेशन में कौन था? अच्छा, बहुत सारे लोग थे. तो अगर मैं उसको थोड़ा ब्रीफली रिवाइंड करूं, 25th ऑफ मई उन्होंने 2 चपाती खाई थी, am I right? जो कब बनी थी नो वन नोस, पुरानी वाली पलटन में खाई दी थी. देन ऑन 27th ऑफ मई उन्होंने अंडर द जो उनके मेजर साहब थे, किसी को उनका नाम पता है? हाँ, मेजर एंड सर्वनन, उनके साथ उन्होंने बटाली की जो जुबार हिल थी उसके ऊपर उन्होंने असॉल्ट करने की कोशिश की. एंड 29th ऑफ मई they were the first from Indian Army to establish a contact with Pakistani Army. उन्हें briefly सब बताया. Unfortunately in that contact we lost Major M. Sarvanan, 4-5 अन्य और साथी, और ये बुरी तरह जख्मी हो गए थे. आपने वो सब सुन लिया ना. Then 30th of May जब उनका wedding anniversary था, तो there were 2 things which motivated him कि now I should crawl back. अब वो चल तो सकते नहीं थे. And then for 11 days he crawled with no food and water only twice. जो उनको नाले में कभी पानी मिला, to reach to the fire base, जहाँ से फिर उनको हॉस्पिटल लेके गए. और 25 मई के खाना खाने के बाद अगला फूड उन्होंने कब दिया था? June 10th. He had the next meal on June 10th. वो कहाँ पे था? चंडीगढ़. हाँ, हमारे हॉस्पिटल चंडीगढ़. And he survived with 3 bullets and all that stuff. तो बड़ा अच्छा एक्सपीरियंस था वो आपका. तो that was the army's first contact with the enemy in the war. उसके बाद तो फिर फुल फ्लेज्ड वॉर थी. अगर आप गूगल पे जाएंगे आपको हर चीज मिलेगी. ठीक है, यह ऑपरेशन विजय. अब उसी लड़ाई में जब इनिशियली ये सारे सेटबैक्स हो रहे थे, हम कुछ कर नहीं पा रहे थे, तो ये भी डिसाइड किया गया कि एयरफोर्स भी आके कारगिल में दे विल आल्सो फाइट. तो उसको जैसे ऑपरेशन विजय शायद नाम दिया गया था. तो इनका जो एयरफोर्स का उसमें रोल था, वी कॉल्ड इट एज ऑपरेशन सफेद सागर. इफ आई एम नॉट रॉन्ग, क्या नाम था? ऑपरेशन सफेद सागर. तो ऑपरेशन सफेद सागर के तहत अगर मैं बिल्कुल सही बोल रहा हूँ, सर कैन करेक्ट मी, 27 मई को पहली बार फाइटर एयरक्राफ्ट गए. कब? मई 27. ये उन्हीं दिनों की बात है जब वन बिहार भी बटालियन में कुछ कर रही थी. 27, 28, 29. तो मई 27 इट वाज डिसाइडेड अंडर ऑपरेशन सफेद सागर, जो हमारे फाइटर एयरक्राफ्ट हैं, दे विल आल्सो गो, और वो जो पाकिस्तानी एनिमी के जो बंकर्स हैं ऑन द टॉप ऑफ द रिजेस, वो उनके ऊपर बमबार्डमेंट करेंगे. ये जो भी कुछ उनका प्लान था. तो अकॉर्डिंगली श्रीनगर एयर बेस से 4 फाइटर एयरक्राफ्ट फ्लाई करते हैं. कितने? 4. टेक्निकली तो मैं नहीं समझा पाऊंगा, वो सही बताएंगे. एक साइड से 2, एक साइड से 2. ठीक है. जब वो 4 एयरक्राफ्ट वहां पे जाते हैं तो एक साइड से जो 2 हेलीकॉप्टर, ये 2 फाइटर वो मिग 21 जा रहे होते हैं. जब वो कारगिल में कहीं किसी चोटी के आसपास पहुंचते हैं, किसी एक में कुछ तो इंजन फ्लेम हो जाता है, उसके इंजन में आग लग जाती है. तो जो उसके साथ वाला पायलट है, तो वो इस पायलट को बोलता है कि तुम्हारे एयरक्राफ्ट में आग लग चुकी है, यू नीड टू गो बैक. तुम्हें वापस जाना होगा, या शायद तुम वापस भी नहीं जा पाओगे, यू नीड टू इजेक्ट. आप समझिए. तो ये वाला जो पायलट है ये इजेक्ट करते हैं. उनका नाम क्या था? फ्लाइट लेफ्टिनेंट के नचिकेता. नाम सुना आपने? फ्लाइट लेफ्टिनेंट के नचिकेता. ही इज टोल्ड बाय हिज कुलीग जो दूसरे एयरक्राफ्ट में है कि तुम्हारे जहाज में आग लग चुकी है, यू नीड टू इजेक्ट. तो वो इजेक्ट करते हैं. अब जब भी वो इजेक्ट करेंगे तो वी हैव टू सेंड समवन जो जाके उनको लोकेट करेगा, देखेगा, उनको वापस लाने की हम वो सारी प्लानिंग्स करेंगे. अब उन्होंने तो कहीं पहाड़ पे इजेक्ट किया, अब वहां पे कौन जाएगा? कोई हेलीकॉप्टर ही जाएगा. तो जो सबसे पहला हेलीकॉप्टर उस टाइम पे जो सर्च के लिए गया, तो सर वाज इन दैट हेलीकॉप्टर. तो जब फर्स्ट जो हेलीकॉप्टर हमारे मिग 21 जो इजेक्ट हो गया था, उसकी सर्च के लिए जो गया, तो ही वाज वन ऑफ द पायलट्स. आई थिंक उसमें 2 पायलट्स थे. तो ही वॉज वन ऑफ द पायलट्स ऑफ दैट सर्च हेलीकॉप्टर। अब डिटेल में तो सर बताएंगे, पर जब तक सर वहां पहुंचते हैं, अब इनके पास तो जो इन्फॉर्मेशन है दे सेट आउट फॉर दैट। मीनवाइल जो ये चार है, ये जो फाइटर एयरक्राफ्ट ये थे, उनसे थोड़ी सी पीछे दो एयरक्राफ्ट और थे, वो भी फाइटर्स थे। उसमें से एक है एयरक्राफ्ट में थे स्क्वाड्रन लीडर आहूजा, स्क्वाड्रन लीडर अजय आहूजा। तो ही वाज ए सीनियर टू से ऑल ऑफ द फाइटर पायलट्स जो सारे वहां पे थे। तो वो जिस एयरक्राफ्ट ने इजेक्ट किया, दूसरे वाले जो फाइटर पायलट थे उन्होंने आहूजा सर को ये बताया कि वी हैड एन इजेक्शन, हमारा एक इजेक्शन हो गया है। अब ये उनको ऐसा बोलते हैं, जब तक मैं वहां नहीं आता हूं, यू जस्ट कीप एन आई ओवर हिम, ठीक है। थोड़े टाइम में स्क्वाड्रन लीडर अजय आहूजा वहां पे पहुंचते हैं जहां पे ये इजेक्शन हुआ था। अब शायद फ्यूल वाज नॉट दैट मच टू बी लॉन्गर ओवर देयर, तो वो जो पहला वाला एयरक्राफ्ट था ये इसको वापस आने को बोल देते हैं। अब आहूजा सर अपने मिग 21 को लेके ही इज देयर जस्ट होवरिंग टू कीप ए आई ऑन नचिकेता कि वो कहां पे पैराजम्प आई मीन पैराड्रॉप होते हैं। एंड मीनवाइल सर एंड हिज कुलीग ये भी अपना हेलीकॉप्टर लेके दे आर रनिंग टू दैट पर्टिकुलर डायरेक्शन। अब जब वो स्क्वाड्रन लीडर अजय आहूजा सर हैं, अब उनके पास भी शायद ज्यादा फ्यूल नहीं था, बट ही स्टिल कीपिंग ए आई ऑन हिज कुलीग। तो मीनवाइल जो पाकिस्तानी थे उनके पास स्टिंगर मिसाइल्स भी थी। स्टिंगर मिसाइल्स मीन जो अपने कंधे पर रख के फायर करते हो। तो वन मिसाइल केम हिट हिज एयरक्राफ्ट, तो स्क्वाड्रन लीडर अजय आहूजा सर को भी इजेक्ट करना पड़ा। तो बाय द टाइम ही रीच्ड देयर, तो इन द फर्स्ट 10 मिनट्स ऑफ ऑपरेशन सफेद सागर वी हैड 2 ejections, ठीक है। यहां तक की कहानी सिर्फ मैं सुनाऊंगा। अब आपको सर के बारे में पता चला, ही इज द वन जिन्होंने फर्स्ट जो हेलीकॉप्टर सर्च के लिए गया था, किसको सर्च करने, फ्लाइट लेफ्टिनेंट नचिकेता। एंड क्या तब तक एक और इजेक्शन हो गया, तो जो शायद इन्हें बाद में पता चले स्क्वाड्रन लीडर अजय आहूजा। तो मैं सर से रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा कि ये जब निकले, व्हाट वाज इन हिज माइंड, वहां पहुंचे, क्या हुआ, कैसे हुआ, तो सर यू नीड टू टेल दिस।
Thank you, Vikas. Can you all hear me?
Yes, sir.
I can't hear you. How many of you are here? Sugandha ma'am, about 600 students?
About 500, yeah.
500. So let's do it again. I'm only one. I have a mic to, augment my voice. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
So a pleasure to be here this morning. It's almost, she was reminding me a couple of years ago in MUN, and I presume that all of you are from 8th and 9th standard.
9th and 11th.
Sorry, 9th and 11th. So a couple of years back, I was here to address students who took part in Model United Nations, and it's always a pleasure to come back to this school. So thank you, ma'am, for inviting me, and thank you, Vikas, for stitching together such a lovely concept. Firstly, all of us should give a big round of applause for ourselves. Do that. I'm very, very glad. To evoke a sense of pride in the nation, other than the 15th of August and 26th of Jan, is an amazing, amazing concept. For various reasons which the students may not be aware as of now, there are challenges in incorporating this kind of sessions in our daily syllabus, so as to speak. So my compliments to the school and all of you students that you are all here with all your excitement, all your energy, to listen to stories which Vikas has been telling you, which other speakers have been telling you for the last 1 week, and the very concept of Veer Gatha. So it's not about, as I talk to you, and I'm going to sum it up by saying it's not about me. Generations together, it is going to be about every soldier who's there standing guard either in the air or at sea or on the borders to do what? To defend all of us, so that we can go to school, we can have our own businesses, we can have our own jobs, we as citizens of this country can lead a very, very peaceful life in a progressive manner which will take our country to the peak of development. And that is what all of us should all the time, जैसे सुबह हम उठते हैं, मराठी में कृतज्ञता बोलते हैं, English में gratefulness, gratitude बोलते हैं. So we have to express our gratitude. If you can do it every day for one moment, if you think of somebody who's standing somewhere, he's an invisible person. His parents are not related to you. His daughter is not related to you, but he's still standing there, sacrificing all those family moments because he wants this bigger family called as India to be safe. Right? Couple of days back, 26th of July, we had the Kargil Divas, and Vikas has spoken about Operation Sagar. So on that 20, he's already told you 2 to 3 things. I will also add to what he said. As the Indian government realized, the armed forces realized that this is much more than a normal infiltration. And initially, the narrative by the other side was that this is not regular army, but this is irregular or some jihadi kind of forces which are involved. But as the machinery understood that this was much more than infiltration, 21st of May, there was a mission, multiple missions which were led before that also by an aircraft called as a Canberra aircraft. What does a Canberra aircraft do? It flies very high. It's no longer in service now, but it used to be flying very high into our territory with cameras. It's got a special equipment called as camera pod. What does it do? So suppose this is the side I want to map. I'm going to be flying, this is the border, I'm not going to go on the other side. So internationally, legally, morally speaking, I'm on my side. And I'm flying high. And I've got those cameras. What happens because of these cameras, I can capture all this area, right? Once I capture this area, this photographic evidence goes to somebody who's learned this art of photo interpretation. Those people and the team looks at those photographs and extrapolates that information. There are heat signatures, there is some kind of construction going on, and so many other things that they are trained to look at the specific details by zooming in and then making a 2+2 out of the previous information that was there maybe 2 months, 4 months ago, right? So once Commodore Perumal, who later retired as a group captain, he was flying this Canberra aircraft which was shot by the Stinger missiles on the 21st of May. But for reasons, what is the purpose of this machine? It is doing a reconnaissance mission. Till then, Operation Safed Sagar is not yet announced. That means, you see, whenever such operations are announced, it is not that one person takes a decision. There is again a full-fledged procedure in place wherein it has to be announced in a proper manner or it has to be ratified through something called as a Cabinet Committee on Security and things like that at a higher level. So we could not ever talk about Commodore Perumal's mission, but his aircraft Canberra was hit by a missile. And with only one engine, with a big hole, if you go on the internet, just type Commodore Perumal Shaurya Chakra and you will see that the aircraft is almost without one engine, that's one part. Other than that, there's a big hole on one of its sides. And even that crippled aircraft, he could fly all the way from Kargil onwards to Srinagar and retrieve the aircraft. I had the pleasure of serving with Perumal sir in 2001 in Air Force Academy. It is only later that the Air Force and the powers that are realized that he had done something like this, and he was awarded with the Shaurya Chakra Gallantry Award in 2006. So 21st of May, we've understood, the system has understood that there is something much more happening. On 25th of May, the Indian government authorizes what is called as Operation Safed Sagar, that is authorization. 26th of May, couple of missions are flown by the MiG-27s and the MiG-21s and also some helicopter missions. And 27th of May, what Vikas said, there are 2 formations. One formation part is, like he said, Flight Lieutenant Nachiketa. Second formation part is Commodore Ajay Ahuja. I was posted in Leh at that time and we just got a message saying there is an ejection. So as a helicopter pilot, what is my duty? I am trained to rescue. What is my motto as a helicopter pilot? Apatsu Mitram. What does Apatsu Mitram mean? A friend in need. So what is my role? Why I am saying I should be only restricted as a helicopter pilot? What my role was to go and seek out where is the ejection, right? So we got a message. Now what happens in these kind of situations? You can't be sitting here and saying, no, first give me full information. You have, as I'm going to talk to you, I'm also going to give you some lessons. You may like pick it up and we'll wrap it up and we kind of come to the end. One of the beauty of any system is that you need to trust the system. So what do? We are just getting a message, there has been an ejection, proceed to Kargil. I don't get full information. What happens after Kargil? I am also as anxious as anybody else. But I said, yes, the system is in place, I will get enough information at Kargil. So me and my another senior, Colonel Sachdeva, we get airborne from Leh, about 50 minutes of flying time, we reach Kargil. Kargil, there is one wing commander, Atwal. He used to be the camp commandant there. And he briefs us saying, one flight captain Nachiketa has ejected. Where is he ejected? These are the coordinates, generally the coordinates. This is the area where he has ejected. So we refuel and we set course towards where we think or whatever input has come to us that he would have probably either ejected or we don't know what it is. At that time we don't know. So we go, now there is a certain system by means of which you do search and rescue. So we try to initially locate him, see for that parachute. How do you see a fighter plane from which a fighter pilot is ejected? There are two things you can see, right? One, the fighter plane would have gone somewhere and crashed, and because of so much of fuel and other things, it would have caught fire. So you can see a huge smoke coming out, right? Second, you can see the big parachute. The pilot would have ejected, the ejection seat would have fired, and the parachute would have then got deployed. So you probably will see the pilot. So, and these two things may be as close as possible, they could be slightly far off also. So these are the things we as helicopter crew will start looking for. When we didn't find him for a certain time, for whatever reason we just decided to land in a village. On the outskirts of a village we landed, and then one of us got down and we asked some villager who was around, which side do you think the fighter missions were going on? Now we are talking with the helicopter noise in Hindi, he is responding us to in Kashmiri, but that doesn't make a difference as long as we got where it was. And we took off again for that area. Once we took off for that area, that moment we were not aware that we were flying somewhere close to a place called Yaldor Naga. And Yaldor Naga, which we came to know later, was a very heavily infested with the help of Stinger missiles from the Paki side. So we again tried to search and we saw one Indian post. Indian post classically will have, the tents are made in a certain manner and one could identify this is our looking kind of thing with the Tiranga and a small helipad, so we landed there. And there the deputy commander of that particular brigade told us that his troops from the higher post had seen that the parachute has deployed on the other side. That means Nachiketa is now on the other side. We can't do much. So we came back to Kargil. Now, as we reached Kargil, we came to know we were flying, so we don't have any RT contact with Kargil base. By the time we came back and landed for refueling, we came to know that while Nachiketa is ejected and Squadron Ahuja has done his mission, so he's doing a separate mission, Nachiketa is doing a separate mission. After Ajay Ahuja and his team have finished their mission and they are returning back, on RT, on radio, they hear the call that Nachiketa is ejected. And like what Vikas covered, Ajay Ahuja sir wants to look for that down pilot. Why? So that he can pass on the message as soon as possible to the helicopter crew. Was this a mandate given to him? Definitely not. Was it a part of his duty as per the briefing? 100% no. But he felt what best can he do as a lead? What is the best thing as the senior most? So he told his other two teammates to go back to Srinagar. जो भी resources है, whatever were the resources and information available, what are the resources that time available with Squadron Ahuja? Look at it from that point of view. He's got his aeroplane, which has got a certain amount of fuel and a certain amount of time that it can loiter. Means of this, what does he want? He wants the information as to where he has ejected. Who is this person? Does he know him? Possibly no. Has he served with this person? Possibly no. But it is another of his colleague or teammate, a soldier who has ejected. So whatever best he could do, he starts to orbit trying to look to get the coordinates. In the meantime, like Vikas said, the enemy forces have got together and they fire a Stinger missile. So it's a shoulder launched missile, and the sensor as to where the missile goes, if you see some movies like Rambo and other movies also, I'm sure, the heat is the thing that is the sensor. Wherever there is enough amount of heat and missile will go in that direction, so you just fire it and forget about it. You can't control it once you fire. You lock on to a heat source and that particular missile will go and hit the heat source. So his aircraft was hit by a missile and he also ejected. So the point is now we are back to the chronological order where we have landed back at Kargil and we are told there has been one more rejection. So we give the information actually to Sanjay Patwal saying, sir, we went at this place, Colonel Thomas has told us that Nachiketa's chhatri us side mein khul gayi hai. And he tells us yes, but there has been one more rejection. By then there is another few helicopters that get caught up with us, and the 3-4 helicopters together we try to search for Squadron Ahuja, but by the time we again go back to Kargil after a certain brief search and rescue, we are told that there is information that has been telecasted to international media that Flight Lieutenant Nachiketa has been captured as a prisoner of war. And the information about, at that time at least, about Squadron Ahuja was very, very hazy. Almost you can say we came to know much later that he was shot at point blank range by Pakis. So this was 27th of May. Now what happened was on 28th of May. So this was a kind of a jolt you can say, or what happens in fog of war when these kind of situations happen, it definitely affects each one of us. We have to be brave enough to also accept that bravery is not in only doing things when things are right, but bravery is also doing things correctly with a correct set of mind when things are not going your way. So you're mentally affected because you've lost a colleague, things have happened, but you still have to persist. So on the 28th of May, 26th, this was the first day of operation, 27th, this particular incident happened, 28th of May, early morning hours, there was a mission by 3 helicopters. Helicopter 1, 2 and 3. Right? Now, I told you earlier about the heat-seeking missiles. So the missile is going to go wherever there is heat. Now you need a system where you can fool the missile. Right? Shafts. You said it. Shafts and flares. So shafts are nothing but metallic strips, and flares are, in common terms, they are like the thing what we burn in Diwali, Puljadi, no? Yeah. Yes, sorry. I was getting confused. So it's something like that when I as a pilot assess, okay, I am entering into a zone and for next 20 seconds, 30 seconds, I could be fired upon by a missile. What do? My exhaust, my engine is running, so it's giving a certain heat, correct? I want to now create a heat which is much more than that exhaust. So I have this something called as flares, which in very simple terms are fuljadis or anars, which are on both sides of my machine or the helicopter. There are all sockets kind of thing, and I have got the controls inside the cockpit, and I keep launching them. So if you see on the internet, sometime there is some Fatapar demo or something, they'll have this. So if you put on the internet flare dispensing by IL-76 or transport aircraft, you will find it gets eliminated. So on both sides of the helicopter, there is going to be a stick of fire that is going to be. Now what will happen if the missile is fired in that many seconds? The missile is going to get confused. And that is the whole purpose. Plus, there are certain maneuvers that the helicopters are going to do. The reason I am explaining this to you is, helicopter 1 had this equipment, helicopter 2 had this equipment, helicopter 3 did not have this equipment. But then, the objective to destroy enemy post was also very important. So quickly, whoever is the in charge there, whoever is the leader, does a risk assessment. There is risk. We are going into a war which we are not wanting to call a war, so let's call it a full-time operations. But there is a full-time operation, so there is, as it is a risk involved. So they do a quick risk versus benefit ratio analysis, whatever one wants to call it. And then the 3 aircraft are launched. First helicopter fires the rockets, target destroyed to a certain extent. Second fires, third fires, and as they are getting away, heat-seeking missile, they have the flares. So they can avoid it. Third one doesn't have it. So Flight Captain Moilan and his co-pilots, Commander Pundi, their helicopter V-17 was shot by the missile, and the flight gunner Prasad and the other person, engineer Sahu, 4 crew members, they just perished in air. This happened on the 28th morning. So the turn of events is, what happens in most of these situations, you can take 2611, you can take Kargil, you can take so many other situations. Even if the machinery is ready to take on the task, the first input that comes to you is very hazy. It is only when you actually start to sit back and say what is happening. You get a stock of the situation. It happens in many of situations. It's not only typically in armed forces. So 25th, 26th, 27th, 28th, 4 days. First day was the announcement and the authorization of the Ops Safed Saga. By 28th, the machinery realized that this is not on because we are what we thought from an air power perspective that we could use helicopters and fighters because Vikas covered that by then by the 25th from almost 5th of May, before that when Anuj Kalia's petrol got missing, Saurabh Kalia's petrol got missing, the army was very much convinced, but the Air Force thought that we could quickly bomb and finish it off. Look at it from that point of view. These two incidents gave a jolt and said, oh, this is something much more than we would expect because these are guys sitting with proper Stinger missiles. So what should we do? That is where the resilience of the Air Force, the innovation, the leadership kicked in and said, if we can deliver a certain amount of armament, staying at a higher height, not going very close to where the enemy is, that is the most ideal, right? We don't have to go close. So there was Mirage aircraft which were quickly integrated overnight or within a couple of days, 1 or 2 days, and something called as a laser guided bombs were made, activated, and the kit was integrated into the platform. Machine is a platform, weaponry comes together, you have to integrate the platform with the machinery. And that is how from the 29th or maybe possibly 30th of May, all the full time into June, there was the Air Force element from the top, cutting down the logistics and other resources and creating a situation where you were almost invisible to the enemy and you could just see one bomb coming. So laser is there, one aircraft is called as designator, laser designator, he will designate the laser and the other aircraft will release the bomb and the bomb will effectively take clues from the designator or the laser and ride over it in simple terms. Now these two things, the Air Force going full out, on the ground, the army moving and the foot soldiers saying this is my land, I have reclaimed it back. These two incidences, these two kind of situations created a bottleneck. And for any army, any operation, for anyone, to sustain life as such, you require rations, right? And ration is just one part, but you require a whole lot of supply chain of everything. So once you started to cut down the supply chain on the rear end, the enemy started to choke, and somewhere on the 5th, 6th of July, the international pressure, the talk with the US and US being an intermediary to influence upon Pakistan to find a very, very quick kind of step back. Plus, I don't know whether he's covered it, there was something called Operation Talwar. So what happens is, Army Navy ho gaya. How do you, whoever that time the powers that may be, they realized that we could do something with the Navy. So what do you do with the Navy? In the area where the ships, commercial ships, are going to Pakistan, you had your whole Indian Navy, element of Indian Navy's powerful ships lined up. So what do you tell a merchant Navy ship? If you enter from now on, I am going to shoot you. So why would a merchant ship enter from some other country or something? So it reached a situation where the submarines, where the Navy, through Operation Talwar, created what is called the economic blockade. Khana Pina, so it is said, again it would be unconfirmed, that only 6 days of oil was left for Pakistan. So 6 days of oil means, imagine petrol, oil, petrol, whatever are the things that are required for any economy to run. If you have only 6 days, what do? You almost come on your knees and say, how can I get more of this? You can only get more of this if you do something, you take a step back somewhere else. So this is how, essentially what I am trying to say, it is not one particular element which is there to guard this nation called India. Army, Navy, Air Force, ITBP, there is diplomacy, there is so much of inputs coming from the intelligence. There is so many things that are happening at a political, diplomatic level. There is things happening at economic level. So the point I am trying to say is, yes, we are all surely, conscious of the fact that it is the armed forces, the police or the ITBP, this BSF which is doing it. But please remember, there is also an element. The reason I am telling you this is, some of you may want to join the armed forces, very good. Some of you may not want to join armed forces, and that's perfect. And this I'm talking out of my experience as a career guidance facilitator when I've interacted with children of your age to understand what are the best careers suited for each one of us. So it's not something a rule as such that the only way I can serve the country is only if I join Army, Navy, Air Force. I look at the school institution, the teachers, the leadership here. By creating good citizens itself is a great, one of the best things that you can ever do is by creating good students. So each one of your teachers, non-teaching staff, administration staff, the founders, the chairman, and the hierarchy as such is also through these kind of events helping all of you, so many students, make that foundation. And this foundation, if you take it correctly, even if you absorb 5%, 10%, 25%, try to implement even 1 or 2%. In today's alien stage, there is a lot of distractions. There is enough of TikTok, there is enough of AI, there is enough of reels that happen, and that's perfectly fine. Again, I'm not at all saying why that. So I'm not coming from a situation where I'm saying that's not required. That's up to each generation to realize as to what is best for them. But we definitely, if you go back home and every day, or today, or Veer Gatha, what he said in the last 1 week that you have been exposed to so many speakers, if you even put your mind for 30 seconds every day and just close your eyes and think what that person must have gone through, I think it will give you a fair amount of grounding throughout life to say, yes, it is not every time I do something or things that are visible to you, there is a whole machinery to keep a particular system and a country itself the way it is. And what happens because of that? I'm going to kind of ask more questions from you in a while. Look at it, what happens from that. In my understanding, and it is my whole conviction, that once we have that kind of understanding, that it is essential thing to understand that to make something happen, it is a huge amount of effort. I was just saying hello to your leadership council outside when they were to receive me. Leadership role is going to be extremely dynamic in nature. It is going to be lonely at times. It is going to be very pressurizing because you are going to be watched. So the point is that you need to understand that if you can put in some amount of effort towards acknowledging that जो भी event हो रहा है, जो भी चीज हो रही है, it takes an effort. What happens because of that? Two things happen. I'll tell you. One, our cynicism about everything much more comes down, right? Because what happens is, if, for example, in our cafeteria we have served 5 types of breakfast, there will be always some of us will say, why not the 6th? If there are 6, why not the 7th? So we need to kind of understand that once you become into administration, or once you start to organize events, or once you want to make things happen, you realize that it is much of a task to make things happen. So you don't remain only one of those who will all the time look at what is not there. What is the difference between a positive person and a not so positive person? A positive person looks at what are the things available, what are the resources, what can I do best with available resources. Possibly a not so positive person is all the time thinking, oh, why don't I have A, B, C, D, E? And usi mein time jata hai, right? We cannot ask for resources. There are going to be set resources. If you look at our situation which happened on the 27th of May, only a certain information is there. Now I got to act with that certain information with all my positivity, all my sense of responsibility, right? If I now start thinking, no, first give me A, B, C, D information, only then I will embark on this mission, then that's not correct, right? So 2 takeaways from you, other than the, of course, you remembering and understanding of Safed Sagar. 1, all your life, if you can be a little bit throttle back, I would say, on the cynicism aspect, because always realize this, to run a metro station, how many of you travel in a metro? Oh, was it a school organized activity? That's quite a bit of number and very nice. So I'm just giving an example of the metro. Why? Because it's the latest addition in the Pune ecosystem. So Whether you are going to be sitting in a metro or you are doing at big projects, always look at what has been achieved. Of course, there is always a scope for improvement. And the second thing is, if each day, 30 seconds, 15 seconds, as we say, we pray to the Almighty, if you can think about somebody somewhere sitting on some border, 50 to 100 meters below, or at minus 40 degrees, or plus 40 degrees in Rajasthan, so that all of us can have a good life, then I think we've created very, very good citizens. And this is just the starting point. You'll all become very, very capable individuals, very, very capable leaders in your own areas of expertise and what you like. And I'm not only hopeful, I'm confident that this is the foundation that the school has set up, so make best use of it. As for the time, I think we are okay to take on a few questions and then I think we'll wrap it up. So, I don't know what's the system, but you can just raise your hand and ask a question. I'm okay about it. Yes, please.
One second, I'm just sending the mic. Quiet, everyone.
Hello, sir.
Hello. Yes, please go ahead.
Sir, so were you not able to ADC, like air communicate with the ground during the mission?
The grounded pilot?
Yes, yes.
So what happens is to give you a context, there is something called as personal kit that rescue, okay, survival kit, personal PSP, personal survival pack. That is the only thing that when you eject from a fighter aircraft that is connected to a parachute, the pilot doesn't have any kind of a system once who ejects down as to communicate with the aircraft. Look at it from this point of view, very pertinent question. Suppose that pilot talks to you, right?
Yes, sir.
It is going to be on a certain frequency.
Yes, sir.
What if that frequency is intercepted by the enemy?
Yeah, it can be intercepted.
And then you are in, so let us assume that a situation where a pilot is alone. If you see what is called as a search and rescue, Black Hawk Down करके एक movie है कभी देखना, where they rescued one pilot from the enemy side. But if you land there and you start to talk to your own forces on a certain frequency and that frequency gets intercepted, what will happen? Your position, which is at present not known to the enemy, is exposed. Got the point?
Yes, sir.
Plus, there are essentially issues of, whenever you transmit something, you need some kind of a power system. You need a transmitter, you need a reception. So let us assume even as big as a normal radio. Yeah, आजकल जो TVS सारे वो whatever सारे काम comes. Even that will add to the weight. How will that be fitted inside the machine? So these are the challenges by means of which we have not yet had. However, there is some kind of a walkie-talkie that is always there. And you have certain frequencies and certain code language that is given, but that came on much later and now more and more technology is coming in that. But a very interesting question, why couldn't he communicate? Now look at from Flight Lieutenant Nachiketa's point of view, he is ejected. He just safely managed to land with all that parachute and he already declared as a prisoner of war. That means he is taken into custody.
Yes, sir.
And that's declared within 1 hour to the international press. So what happens is once you declare to the international press, you have to follow certain norms. In case of Scotland Ahuja, by the time he lands, and he just probably, I'm just thinking, that the good man has just got onto his feet and tried to understand where he is. There is an enemy standing with revolvers and things like that, and maybe not one, maybe 10, 20, I don't know really how many. And then he shot at point blank range. So there is very little that probably they could have done. Right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, you can ask a question.
Sir, Operation Group Captain involved fighters firing laser-guided missiles. I had a small doubt. Why wouldn't we use attack helicopters and specific close air support weapons when we had that in our disposal in Jammu and Kashmir?
Oh, his question is why did we use attack helicopters? So what happens is every helicopter or any machine has a certain height band where they can operate effectively. So let us say I am giving an example of your car. You have a certain type of a car. 5 of you are sitting inside, it is getting heated up to a certain extent when you are going from here to Mahabaleshwar because there are two ghats here, Katraj Ghat and Ade Khandala Ghat, so there is a certain elevation that, correct? Understood so far? Now you put the same, you take the same car with the same amount of weight and try to do Khardunga, which is at 18,500 feet, motorable road ahead of Leh. Essentially what will happen, the car will get heated up because the car is meant for certain places, however you are taking it to much beyond, putting the same load. So what will you have to do at Khardunga? You have to reduce one person. Essentially in attack helicopters, what does it mean? That you have to reduce the amount of salvo weapons, the weaponry you can take. So ammunition has to be reduced. So when your ammunition is reduced, there is also a quick analysis you will do. Oh, I am going, what am I doing? I am exposing myself. See, please understand. What is here? What is my purpose? And sir, the army. Which part, sir? He is from Marathas. Okay. So ask him someday, what is our purpose? Our purpose essentially is to fight, achieve the objective and come back safe. No, I want to be fighting fit the next day. With me? Sir explained to you the situation, or you had some talks where, for various reasons people got wounded, they were taken into hospital. So what happens? There is a recovery process. What is happening is you are losing a trained officer, JCO, soldier, specialist, pilot, whatever it is, for that much duration when you need it the most. Clear? So for everything that you do, there are, in each time you already thought of it. That if this is going to happen at this altitude, what can I do? Because with one single rocket, what can I achieve and how much am I exposing my machine? More important than the machine is my 2 or 3 or 4, whatever crew is there. And if that crew is not available at that time of war, what are we preparing ourselves for? Army, Navy, Air Force. We are preparing for a contingency when they, like they say, that the balloon will go up and we will all utilize our learned knowledge through our exercises, through academic knowledge, through practice, and put it into actual use to achieve the objective as given for that particular mission. So that's how we could not use the attack helicopters, and hence we had to use the B-17s. There is a nice video on YouTube, just if you put in Flight Captain Moilan or put in the words like 27 attack on Tololi by helicopters, you will get that video. Yeah, anything else? Any questions? Yes, please.
Good morning, sir. I wanted to ask you, what was your source of inspiration to join the Indian Army?
So good question, and thank you. Please sit down. Now I'll tell you where it comes from. So my friend, now I'm much past the age and stage. I can give some kind of a storyline so as to speak. But I'll tell you this honestly, what happened was 2 days back we had our school reunion. I passed out from a school called Abhinav Vidyalaya, which is at Karve Road. So a friend of mine was narrating to the other group that somewhere around 2nd or 3rd standard, I was telling this friend of mine, saying in Marathi, "Tula mahiti hai Air Force le bhari hai." After that, I think what essentially, this is my research, to a large extent my experience with children, we all know what kind of things actually trigger us, what are our interest areas. So as I continued in school, we used to have something called RSP. I don't think it happens now. It used to be called Road Safety Patrol. It was an initiative by the Pune Traffic Police. And the idea was that every week, 1 or 2 hours, the traffic policeman used to come in to your school. On the same uniform, you had those epaulets called as RSP, and you had to do marking and you had to do a parade. This was in 7th, 8th or so. And I took special interest in being a leader and, shouting on the top of my voice, Saudhan, Vishram, all those kind of things. As I passed out of school, by then I was already determined, or I was already convinced that Air Force is something I want to join. So I joined NCC. I was talking to Sugandha ma'am. Now NCC taught me a lot. I did 5 years of NCC. I did Republic Day Parade in the year 1992, way back. I went to UK through NCC, a 3 weeks exchange program through NCC. And every Sunday, I used to be staying in Kothur. There is a place called Happy Colony. I didn't have a bike because I was underage, so I used to travel by bus. Every Sunday, get up at 4:30, 5:15 bus number 144, go through to Pune station, get down at Pune station, walk up to the platform, from the platform do something which is stupid, which is something irregular and illegal, but walk on the platform up to Wadia College, and Wadia College ground had a big hole in itself, enter into the ground and do parade from 7 o'clock to 12:30 and do the repeat. This used to happen on a Sunday. So as we were in college, which all of you will also experience, there are many activities which are planned in Pune on Saturday evening. Rock shows, and those years this was a big craze. But I used to take a step back at a certain time and say, no, tomorrow is my parade, so go back home, brush over the epaulets and polish the shoes and keep the uniform ready for a Sunday, and those big shoes with those naal ke saath, walk about a kilometer from my house to go through the bus stop. So I think one thing led to other. There was an environment, there was a whole ecosystem. Of course, full type of support from my parents, by my gurus, by my teachers, my mentors. My friends were very, very supportive. They said, okay, it's 9 o'clock on a Saturday, you need to go home. So you are missing out, it's okay, it's fine, you have a larger aim possibly. So yeah, I think inspiration, if I was to say there's no single inspiration, but chalta raha, and then the whole ecosystem actually encourages you to think and do something. Otherwise, technically speaking, I'm sure each one of you knows what you want to do, knows what excites you, but there are enough and more amount of talks, discussions, peer pressures, parental talks, teachers, what's happening in the industry that is possibly making you think in a certain way. I was lucky that whatever I thought I wanted to do, I could achieve that. So in many ways, it's been a dream life. Who's next? Okay, we're going to have some questions until what time, ma'am? Another. We have time, right? I'm going to show you some pictures of Siachen because Vikas said that. Any of you have seen any stories or heard anything about Siachen? Yes. Through somebody who's been a recent speaker or? Okay, so have you something in Siachen? So we'll have that, but we'll take two questions and then move to that. Yes, please.
Sir, so I wanted to ask you this question, was there an instance in the time that you served that there was a grounded pilot and you could not rescue him, or you could not get him back onto your helicopter, and then you thought to yourself that maybe I could have done something differently, or maybe I could have got there a bit earlier if I had moved earlier, that I could have saved him or rescued him, or did you not get that time to think about it or ponder upon it because of your duties?
So, I'm looking at a larger context and answering your question, so see if it kind of helps you to understand what happens to a typical soldier. We are all trained to do a certain role. We are all trained for many hours and years. We do different missions, different training, sorties. For what? For that eventuality that may occur, that you will have to go and rescue somebody. In case of a helicopter pilot, you are also trained to do what we call as humanitarian and disaster relief. So I was involved in the Bhuj earthquake. When I was posted at Chennai, I was involved in tsunami rescue missions. When I was commanding a unit, my unit had participated in the Kedarnath rescue missions. So what happens, if I'm looking at a slightly larger question and rephrasing your question, what happens is, I need to also, as a soldier, as an officer, as a pilot, I need to acknowledge three things. One, my own capability, in terms of my experience, in terms of my skills. Secondly, the capability of the machine that I fly. I fly a Mi-17, it's a 12-ton aircraft, it has got different capabilities. I fly a Cheetah aircraft, it is 1200 2 kg, 2 tons, it's a different aircraft. So I need to also acknowledge that what are the limitations, my weapon limitation, my machine limitation. The third thing is, I need to acknowledge what are the environmental limitations. How's the weather? How's the terrain? How confident and comfortable I am with the terrain because I have flown it. So if I understand these three, all the time, my internal self is going to tell me I need to do more because at the end of the day, I'm a soldier. I've been trained to take on risk and I've been trained to be brave. I've trained to be triggered on that thing. I will go and achieve my objective. But जैसे कमांडो पोस्ट में वो एक पिक्चर आई थी नाना पाटेकर की प्रहार उसी वक्त कमांडो सख्त एक बोलता है दूसरा बोलता है होश में कभी जोश में कभी होश नहीं खोना चाहिए सोल्जर जोश है गुड बट होश नहीं खोना चाहिए मतलब you should be able to have a distinct discretion should be used. This is it and nothing beyond. As professional pilots, as professional military pilots, where there is a lot of risk involved, every day, every moment, every mission, we have a debrief, we have a situation where it is told to each other so that the knowledge passes through the generations that there is always a next day to do the mission. Because certain things are beyond your control. The aircraft capability, that means the machine itself, how much of power it gives, what is the weight it can carry at certain altitudes, what are the other, maybe the firing parameters, plus the weather, how good or bad is the weather, you can't control that. So you have to kind of take a step back and say, discretion is a better part of valor at times. You have to take a step back and say, okay, I will come back and redo the mission, or let's see what are the alternatives, right? So these are possibly, to answer your question, these are the frustrations one goes through, but one has to take it in the stride and say, yeah, you have done your best. And as long as the whole system, each one of us does our best, we can safely say that only the best will be delivered. Okay, one more question. Yes.
Could you state one problem that you face commonly in the army which could be solved by using recent technologies?
Recent technologies served by, okay, that's a good question, so let me think. Okay, I'll again rephrase it and say most of the inventions, okay, in many things, so I'm going to now try and tell you guys about tomorrow. In your coming years, you will all lead organizations, you will select your vocations, you will select your areas of expertise. But do remember that leadership as a concept, as a core, is all started from the armed forces. Because finally there is no larger risk than not being able to save my tribe. I'm talking of, I don't know how many years ago when there was a tribe and I was a tribe leader. Right? So, a lot of developments that have happened in the world are essentially started with me trying to preserve the welfare of my tribe. So what best can I do? When we were in the Air Force, by the time I retired in 2016, smartphones were just getting introduced. Now, the smartphones are a part of everybody's kit as such. When we were young, there was no phones, there was no mobiles. So what were the challenges then? We could counter those challenges with the available technology. Today what has happened essentially is a lot of technological advancement has taken place. You agree with me? But we need somebody to operate that switch. Agree or no? What do I need to now pay attention to? The switch or the person who is operating that switch? So this person who is operating a switch is a human being. He's a mix of emotions, he's a mix of feelings, he's a mix of thoughts, he's a mix of opinions, frustration, happiness, joy, anger, fear, everything. So if I don't pay attention in the exuberance to look at technology, if I don't pay attention to the person who's operating a laptop, looking at a CCTV camera, or trying to analyze certain things, what I'm losing essentially is that I'm losing the connect. And when you ever interact with sir, he'll tell you he's from pure जिसको बोलते हैं इससे बेहतर तो फौज ही नहीं है और इससे बेहतर पलटने के लिए मराठा है. So the point is, if you ever interact with him whenever he's going around, just go and interact. And you got to keep the person who's standing there motivated. You have to continuously interact with that person. And what do they say? Remember this quote. If you remember this quote in your life, I can give you that 50% of your leadership problems will be solved. Take it as a word. We'll all go to, we as in, many of people go to Oxford, Cambridge, IIM, etc., whatever it could be, the highest institutes of education. And then we go and talk to our teams that I'm a PhD, I'm a doctor, I'm a doctorate, so on and so forth. The beautiful quote is, this I'm talking as all of us being team. We do not care how much you know. We do not care how much you know unless we know how much you care. लिख के रखना आप लोग. The team is telling the leader all the time. We do not care how much you know. So you could be a 97% percentile with hundreds of patents. You could be anybody. We do not care how much you know because all that is academic. Unless we know how much you care. And this care is a very, very big canvas to interact with other humans, to make other humans do something out of the box, my friend. Look at Vikas sir must have told some speakers initially must have spoken at what temperatures they were operating at, what heights they were operating. So to tell a group of people that this is your objective to re-achieve or reclaim the post which is at XYZ 15,000, 16,000 feet at this many degrees of elevation and at this many degrees of temperature. It requires huge amount of leadership on the person who's trying to tell. And that person can only influence the other 5, 7, 10, 15 people only if this person has exhibited great amount of care for those. You get my point? Remember this quote, I can give it to you in writing. 60% of your leadership problems will be solved in life. Okay, any other No. It's called as Siachen Lessons of Leadership. Yeah.
If you have a commercial piloting license, then can you still join the Air Force?
No. So to join the Air Force, there are two ways. One, you can join it through NDA. NDA is after 12th standard. So after 12th standard, now even women pilots or women cadets are being inducted. So you join NDA, you do 3 years of training in NDA, and then you join the Air Force Academy and you become a pilot. The other way is, you are a college graduate, you pass out of your college and then you join the Air Force Academy. If you already have a civil pilot license and you are within the age, there is no embargo on you joining. So if you've spent already 200 hours and you know how to fly, that's a great thing. But will the Air Force give you any credit for those 200 hours? The answer is no, because the machine is different, the missions are different, the kind of thing that you are getting prepared for as a cadet is different. So one way to think about it is, if you've already done a commercial license which definitely costs some decent amount of money, one would really like to think why that person would like to join the Air Force, because your piloting skills that you have acquired will not be really utilized because you'll have to still go through the same syllabus. TEDx SC करके होगा. You can share the file and tell you. 9:30 सैंडविच खा लिया घर से जो आया था. वड़ा पाव अगर मिलता है यहाँ पे? क्या हो गया? खा लिया? Okay, let's do an exercise. Let us all get up on our seat. Okay. Turn around. Say hello to the person behind you. Everybody turn around. And again turn back. Okay, put your right hand up, left hand up. Now get both hands together. There's a sound that will come. Yeah, this is called as namaskar and that is also called a clap. Please sit down. Okay, all those who are feeling asleep, better now. Some of you are wearing those hoodies, right? And the hoodie, the way you are wearing, I'm already getting a feeling. I'm talking of Siachen and these guys seeing that they are already at the base camp in minus temperatures. Huh? Okay, I'm going to talk something for a few minutes about Siachen. Why I say that? Because Vikas and I are closely connected on the social media platforms. And yesterday, Day before yesterday at 10 o'clock on Aaj One Day Mataram series, you can see on the YouTube there was a program on Siachen pioneers. And what I keep saying, NCC is one organization I'm very passionate about. Siachen pioneers flying in the glacier is something that has been my most blessed moment as a pilot. And you ask any pilot in India for sure that what is flying in Siachen, he will say Jannat hai. कल एक यंगस्टर का इंटरव्यू आया था टीवी पे, उसने बोला अगर आपने लाइफ में ये कर लिया तो आप इसके आगे कुछ है ही नहीं. And that's the truth of flying in the Siachen, because that is one area of operation where the pilot for 2 years, the tenure is only for 2 years for a pilot, and the pilot is operating at its max, range of skill, perseverance, mental ability, engine power, aircraft characteristics, temperatures, you name it, and you still have to deliver safe operations. And you see what happens is, the leeway given to me is very, very minimal to make a mistake. To sustain that non-mistake, near to perfect operations for 6 hours a day, 2 years of your life, it really takes a huge amount of effort mentally and physically. And that is why it is regarded as one of the most challenging flying, not here, but all across the world, because the Alps and the other mountains where people do skiing and other so-called activities, they are at much lower altitude than 18,000, 19,000, 20,000 till 2005. From 1984 to about 2005, there used to be regular firing. It is only post 2005 that there is a ceasefire. So I was posted there in 98 to 2000. And it just so happened that I culled out some lessons out of it. So let me just share them with you as maybe 15-20 minutes. Next slide, please. All of you can see the screen, or do I need to remove the chairs, these sofas? Okay, good. So some of the clippings as to what the Siachen is, waist deep. People walk there. There is where they are now walking. What happens at Siachen? Anybody's been to Gangotri Glacier, Yamunotri? Yeah, some ladies here, ma'am here. So what happens in a glacier? Classically, glacier is type का ऐसा सोचिए, वहाँ से motorable road आता है, and suddenly you come to a blind stop here, because this is how the glacier is. Normally called as the snout of the glacier. So everything that comes, आप कभी गंगोत्री जाएंगे तो गंगोत्री भी glacier है, जिसके finally river becomes into the big massive river Ganga. So where the base camp is at 11,500 feet. How many have you been to Leh? 10,500 feet or so is Leh, and north of Leh, when you start going by the road, you go to Khardumla, you go to South Pulu, then Khardumla, North Pulu, then you get down to Hundar if you have been there. After Hundar, you start going and you come to Siachen Glacier. That is where the base camp of the army is, what we call as classically the base camp of the Siachen Glacier. Next slide, please. A little bit of understanding, because a lot of questions about how it must have happened, why are we spending huge amount of manpower, effort, monetary effort, rations, and all that of things. How did it happen? So after the 1971 war between India and Pakistan, it was decided that okay, ye aapka jagah, ye mera jagah. There was a Shimla agreement that happened, and everything was discussed, and we said this is the line of control. Now the line of control stopped at a certain point. Why? Because ahead of this, from 1971, nobody imagined ahead of this what is there to discuss, because it is only a snow. It is a snow desert. There is no production possible there. There is no growth possible there. It is minus 20, minus 40 degrees temperature throughout. It is pure snow. And when I say snow, in the glacier part at least, the snow is not the classical Gulmarg or Pahalgam snow if you have been to Kashmir, or the Rohtang Pass. This is actually black kind of earth, which is also having an element of ice or liquid snow. So it's not an enjoyable snow. It is nothing can happen there. It is not touristy also, because it's got a lot of crevasses. So nobody even thought what we could do. Then what happened? Next slide, please. Somewhere around 1978, the Indian intelligence agencies understood that the Pakistani army has ordered huge amount of winter clothing in the UK open market. From whatever sources they had, they understood that there is a huge amount of requirement from the Pakistani army for high altitude clothing and mostly which is used in colder temperatures. Pakistan, like us, does not have so much of variation of temperature. So automatically 2 plus 2 लगा के लोगों ने बोला there must be some activity going on. So one Colonel Kumar, he was a very brave mountaineer. He was tasked to lead a team, and the first unknown entry, first time a team entered into the glacier was in 1978. And after him, a post in glacier has been named as the Kumar Post. Next, please. Now, 1978 happened, so we started to kind of make our presence felt. Again, in 1982-83, there were inputs that if we don't act fast, there could be a possibility that there could be a takeover. Takeover of what? Takeover of something called as Saltoro ranges. So which basically are nothing, they are about average height would be 13,000-14,000 going up to 20,000 feet, and they are ones which are also connecting not connecting Chinese side on one side and the Pakistanis on the other. Right? So this particular range on the glacier, 105 kilometers or so, on 13th of April 1984, India launched what is called as Operation Meghdoot. And today if you look at 2023, 14th of August, Operation Meghdoot is still running. So it's the longest serving operation at the highest battlefield anywhere in the world. Right? Because temperatures, and height itself starts from almost 11,500 feet going to Bana top, which is probably at about 21,500 plus. Okay, next slide please. So now, as the Indian forces occupied this whole part, they said let's divide it into administrative as well as operational ease, some things. So the glacier essentially is divided into Northern Glacier, Central Glacier and the Southern Glacier. 3 glaciers or 3 parts, part of the same Saltoro ranges, but operationally and administratively to monitor and supervise. So Northern Glacier, Central Glacier and the Southern Glacier. If you know places, if you have heard of an air base called as Troyes, that is very close to Southern Glacier. The base camp and head is close to Northern Glacier. One of the patterns of their sir has been Chabis Maratha sir. I served with them in 1999. Next please. So if you see, these are classically the places where our troops have made a habitat out of nothing. Honestly speaking, now we can call them a post and there is a little bit of infrastructure. But imagine this to be absolutely nothing in 1984. Now these are the posts where each post has got a certain way of functioning, certain number of troops, certain number of eatables, some kerosene, some medicine, some uniform or clothing, ladders, ropes. So everything is kind of laid out, and depending on the number of people that are staying will be expanded or the small size of the post. Next please. So what happens is, ahead of the base camp, the troops go on their own, they acclimatize. So if somebody has been to Leh, the moment you land at Leh, there are many signages at the airport and other places that don't run, take things okay for the first day. Why? Because your body needs to get acclimatized. Why? Because the oxygen pressure, as you go up the pressure reduces, the amount of oxygen that's available is less. So you take time to adjust and your breathing becomes a problem. Right? So with that, we need somebody to go and give this whole lot of rations and other things to the troops. And that work is either done by a cheetah, next please, a B-17, B-5. So you can see some parachutes. With the help of parachutes, what I was talking to somebody, that why can't we use attack helicopters? So the B-17, which can normally land at these places, because of the high altitude cannot land. So if it cannot land, how can it throw the weight? It can throw the weight because it is going at a certain height, a certain forward speed. With the help of parachute, that load is all tied up, and it is just by the help of what is called as dispatchers, it is just pushed. And the moment it is pushed, the load is pushed, the parachute will get deployed by a mechanism and the load will fall to the post that is intended. But on planes, If you were to take this much of load in Pune, yes, you can go and land at that place and offload. But this is now probably at 17,000 feet. Next, please. The ALH, Advanced Light Helicopter. Next, please. AN-32. So load is best, fresh and dry rations of lubricants, spare parts and medicines and other things. Yes, next please. So high altitude challenges are there in terms of every pilot flying there needs to have an oxygen mask. There is an oxygen supply because above 10,000 feet all pilots are expected to fly with oxygen. If you don't have oxygen supply, most of us or all of us actually, if you don't have that, you will undergo some aviation medicine terminology and a challenge called as hypoxia. And in hypoxia, what happens is your brain functions slow down, but you're a pilot, so you need to be very, very alert in doing things. That's why we wear oxygen. The aircraft performances as we speak, there are maintenance issues in terms of the availability, plus the aircraft is all the time operating at its limit. What example I took of the car, you're all the time at your car which has been bought to operate at Pune level with 6 passengers are always operating at its peak. So the heat है उसका जो whatever is giving that, you're just about keeping it on the edge. So one of the things I always used to say in the glacier is if you're not living on the edge in the glacier, you're taking too much of space. Out conditions or whiteout conditions where you cannot possibly assess your own orientation with relation with the earth. And that is called as something called as a spatial disorientation happens. For pilots specifically, they will not know which side they are turning and so on. Then snow glare, snow itself, snow blindness, if you know there is a challenge of snow blindness, so all mountaineers wear those dark colored big goggles. Gusty winds, updrafts and downdrafts. Yeah, you can switch it off. So the point is, all of you must read more about the Siachen Glacier. As and when time permits, we will have possibly one session only for the Siachen Glacier. But at this stage, just be aware that apart from our troops being stationed in the range where our troops are stationed, again I say back the same words, that somewhere somebody is there standing on guard, either in air or at sea or on land, to ensure that all of us have peaceful night. And this range of operations that our troops do varies from the Rajasthan deserts, where temperatures must be at summer times positively plus 45, plus 50 possibly maybe, to Dras, which was once upon a time, I think some recent years ago, I was in the world record for being the coldest inhabited place, to Siachen Glacier at 19,000, 20,000 feet at minus 20 degrees, eating packed food for a couple of days because there is no steady ration because of weather. Aircrafts are not able to get steady ration. So a lot of challenges at a physiological, psychological level, and everybody is going through that. Look at the submariners. I don't know how many of you know. Submariners don't wear. Do you know that submariners don't? They have disposable clothing. There is no water to wash your clothes in a submarine. The space that you have in a submarine is something called as hot beds. Hot bed means अभी मैं सो गया, मेरा ड्यूटी जब लगेगा तो दूसरे का जिसका खत्म हो गया, he'll come and sleep on the same bed. So the word hot bed means that bed always remains hot because somebody on the other is sleeping. But that's the amount of space you have. When you wear those, if you see classically on the internet, submarines, so there will be shorts and there will be a kind of a vest that they will wear. They will, after a few days, they will put it. So there is enough and more amount of tough life that people are living on a daily basis, and organizations are motivating generations of people so that after one generation passes, the next generation takes on, and the next generation retires, the next generation takes off, to just keep this whole country alive, progressing at the pace that we want it to be. So we will have different sessions as per our timings and whole syllabus, but I think we are coming to the end. Is it fine? So thank you very much for inviting. And always a pleasure to be here. Thank you, ma'am, for inviting me. Always a pleasure, and we can keep interacting on many issues that I know of. Just small summary. When I retired from service in 2016, there is a book by Todd Henry called as Die Empty. So essentially, I go and talk to students. I go and talk in corporates. What do I talk? I don't talk any rocket science because I don't know any rocket science. I talk only what I know. Where do I get this information from? From the experiences a great institution like Indian Air Force exposed me to. It exposed me to 2 tenures abroad, so I know a little bit of foreign relations, I know a little bit of Siachen, a little bit of Kargil. So whatever I have gained from this wonderful institute of Indian Air Force, it shall be my endeavor that wherever I go, I interact, I give out my opinions, share my experiences, and I leave it up to the audience what they want to capture from it and in their daily lives how they want to make use of it. So I hope so that the last 1 hour that I have been with you, you found some value in spending time with me. I for one definitely enjoyed. So thank you and Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. सर ने सियाचिन की बात की. I will just take 2-3 minutes. सियाचिन में ना एक बार क्या हुआ था, एक हेलीकॉप्टर आया, जैसे सर ने आपने देखा, हेलीकॉप्टर वहाँ यहाँ पे हेलीपैड पे लैंड हुआ और वो हेलीकॉप्टर खराब हो गया. क्या हो गया? खराब हो गया. अब वो उड़ नहीं सकता. तो हेलीकॉप्टर को टेक ऑफ तो करना पड़ेगा वापस आने के लिए. अब वहाँ पे चैलेंजेस क्या थे? सबसे पहले चैलेंज क्या आया? जो 2 पायलट हेलीकॉप्टर लेके गए थे, अब वो एक्लेमेटाइज नहीं थे वहाँ पे ज्यादा टाइम तक रहने के लिए. अब उनको सबसे पहले वापस लाना है. यू आर गेटिंग? टास्क क्या था कि वो वहां जाएंगे, जो कुछ अपना छोड़ के एकदम से वापस आएंगे. अब हेलीकॉप्टर वापस नहीं आ सकता, तो सबसे पहला चैलेंज क्या था कि उनको वापस लाना है. एंड देयर आर सर्टेन पोस्ट्स ऑन सियाचिन जहां पे एक इन्फेंट्री का जवान 20 दिन 25 दिन चल के पहुंचता है. कितने दिन? 20-25 दिन ही वॉक टू रीच अप टू द पोस्ट वेयर ही सर्व फॉर 100 odd days and then 20 days odd to come back. अब इन 2 हेलीकॉप्टर पायलट्स का क्या करें? दूसरा चैलेंज क्या था? अगर कोई दूसरा हेलीकॉप्टर आता है, उनको वापस लाने के लिए दूसरे हेलीकॉप्टर को लैंड करने के लिए हेलीपैड ही नहीं है, क्योंकि वहां पे एक ही जगह थी. ये दूसरा चैलेंज था. तीसरा चैलेंज उनका क्या था? चलो somehow they managed to get the helicopter या pilots back. मैं उसकी अभी बात नहीं करूंगा. सेकेंड डे जब टेक्नीशियन को कोई लेके आए, वो कोई और पायलट आया, वो सब हुआ, और वो जब हेलीकॉप्टर वापस लाना था, तो एक हेलीकॉप्टर में कोई चीज होती है, वेट बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट होता है. तो जब हेलीकॉप्टर को उनको वापस लाना था, अब फ्यूल कम था, वेट बहुत ज्यादा था. मैं कहानी को बड़ा कट शॉर्ट कर रहा हूँ. जब उनको हेलीकॉप्टर को उन्होंने स्टार्ट किया, उसका वेट कम करना था. वेट कम करने के लिए क्या किया गया? सबसे पहले उसकी बैटरीज रिमूव की गई. वो सबसे भारी लगी. यानी कि अब हेलीकॉप्टर जब दोबारा बंद होता है, रीस्टार्ट नहीं होगा, क्योंकि आपने बैटरी हटा दी है. अब और वेट कैसे कम करें? उन्होंने जो पीछे उसकी सीट थी वो निकाल दी. अब और वेट कैसे करें, कम करें? जो साइड के दरवाजे थे ना हेलीकॉप्टर के, वो निकाल दिए. अब सुन लो जो मैं कह रहा हूँ. अब एक पायलट होता है, को पायलट होता है, को पायलट की सीट भी निकाल दी कि वजन कम करना है. ठीक है. लास्ट में जब वो हेलीकॉप्टर फ्लाई हुआ है, द पायलट इज फ्लाइंग और को पायलट उसको ऐसे पकड़ के वापस आया हुआ है. अब टास्क आप सबके लिए, आप ये कहानी इंटरनेट पर ढूंढना, बड़ी वेल एक्सप्लेन्ड है विद ऑल द नेम ऑफ द पायलट. और इस कहानी का जो सबसे यूएसपी था, जो सबसे यूनिक चीज थी, जब सेकंड डे वो दूसरे लोग आए हेलीकॉप्टर को ठीक करने के लिए, जब वो हेलीकॉप्टर लेके वहां पे पहुंचे हैं, तो जहां पे हेलीकॉप्टर वो एक दिन पहले छोड़ के आए थे, वहां पे हेलीकॉप्टर ही नहीं था. तो वो ऊपर से देखते हैं यहाँ तो हेलीकॉप्टर ही नहीं है, कहाँ गया? तो जब वो वहां पे लैंड होते, वहां पे एक सिख पलटन थी. कौन सी पलटन थी? सिख पलटन. रात को सिख पलटन वालों ने हेलीकॉप्टर को उठा के साइड पर डाल दिया. Can you believe this? The infantry troops in the night lifted that helicopter और उठा के उसको कहीं साइड पे रखा था, क्योंकि ये वो टाइम था जब जैसे सर ने कहा कि फायरिंग और शेलिंग बहुत ज्यादा होती थी और वो बिल्कुल एनिमी के सामने था और उन्होंने उसके सामने एक बड़ी सी बर्फ की दीवार बना दी थी। आप समझ रहे हो, ये सब कुछ हुआ है। और मैं शायद उनका रैंक से ही बोल रहा हूँ या गलत, एयर वाइस मार्शल मनमोहन बहादुर, ये मैंने उनसे कहानी सुनी है, उनसे कहानी लिखी हुई है। अब आप इसको गूगल पे सर्च करना, वो एग्जैक्ट डेट, टाइम, ड्यूरेशन, जब हेलीकॉप्टर आया, खराब हुआ, क्या चैलेंजेस थे, कैसे उन्होंने इसको ठीक किया और कैसे वो हेलीकॉप्टर को फिर नेक्स्ट डे वापस लेके आए विद वन हेलीकॉप्टर पायलट जस्ट clinging onto the other pilot with no doors open in the air and no batteries to restart if something goes wrong. So we end with this discussion. हमने थोड़े दिन पहले वो वॉर क्राइम्स के ऊपर किया था, आप लोग थे? आप लोगों ने नहीं किया? ठीक है, फिर हम कल करेंगे। ठीक है, चलो, थैंक यू, जय हिंद, जय भारत।